Good afternoon everyone, so we're going to be looking at a comparison video of Quartz and automatic watches. Sorry, you're going to have to look at my clammy hands today because these are actually two watches in my collection. Well, this one hasn't quite made it yet. I'm still deciding whether it's going to make it. But yes, for today's purposes, we're going to be comparing two types of movements. So on the left, we've got the Tissot Quartz GMT, and on the right, we've got the Bulova Oceanographer GMT automatic movement. So automatic movements actually came out around about the 1770s with the original release of the Louis Perrellet watch. You can have a look on that on Google if you like. I have done individual reviews of these two watches. If you're more interested to know in individual details about these two, I'll put them in the video above. Whereas Quartz movements, they came out in 1957 with the Hamilton Caliber 505 electric watch release. So obviously automatic watches have been around a lot longer. So, first category we'll move on to is like collecting them. So, should you collect all automatics or should you collect all Quartz? In my experience, I've got a collection of now 7 watches, like six day-to-day watches, and they're all Quartz because it's okay. If like automatic watches are great for your collecting if you've got, say, a couple of them, because you can keep them. Well, you can keep them in the watch winder if you want, but if you keep them in a box, you can just go to them daily, give them a little wind, and then that's it, done. But if you've got loads of them, are you going to stand there every day and just keep updating and keep updating them? Again, unless you've got a watch winder, it's going to be hard. It's basically, you can store the Quartz ones easily. You can just chuck them in the box and they'll have the right time when you get back to them. So they're Quartz watches in my mind. They're better for a large collection where you can just quickly snap on a watch each day and then that's it, done, all sorted for the day. Next category we can move on to is the look and the smoothness. So you'll probably guess where this is going, but the automatic watches, they look nicer to look at. So if you look on the right here, you can see that hand is just gliding around really nicely, whereas the one on the left is just ticking along. So it's honestly, it's personal taste. If you prefer the look of a nice smooth watch going around, then automatic is probably for you. But then the Quartz one obviously doesn't look as much like that. You can get sweeping Quartz, but they're quite rare at the moment. You don't see many of them. Sekonda have done a couple of nice ones, but you don't see many of them around. Now, the big question is the accuracy. So this is going to be probably open up a big debate here, but I am just expressing my opinion. In terms of accuracy, actually, for me, I feel like this has been more of a fact. For me, over my experience of watches over the years and the constant changing of collection and stuff like that, Quartz watches generally they're more accurate for a cheaper price regardless. They're just more accurate in general. I can back that up with some numbers that I've been calculating, so we'll get onto that in a minute, but generally you have to pay a bit more for an accurate, really accurate automatic watch movement. So we'll get onto the numbers now of where I've got this justification from. This Tissot watch on the left here, so it's been the day that I'm recording this, it's 200 days since the last reset of basically when the clocks go forward and back. It's been 200 days. And as of 200 days, I always set, so on, say, for example, if the clocks went back on, say, Monday, on Monday I'll be sitting there with my watch with the crown pulled out to the second position, with the second hand at 12 o'clock, and then when it gets around to the exact time, I'll push it in, and that'll be it, done. And I'll do that for all the watches I've got. So I did that when the clocks went forward or back, I can't remember, forward back in March, and obviously the next reset is coming up soon, isn't it? End of October. I live in the UK, so yeah, that's where I get that from. But yeah, it's been 200 days. This is a day recording, 200 days, and this is now a minute ahead, and so that works out to be roughly 0.3 seconds per day, which is really good. That's really excellent, especially if you want to keep accurate timepieces. However, this Bulova, I've had this for maybe a few days. Actually, all my exact figures, I'm just having a little look here. So over a 2-day period, I was wearing it for a 2-day period, and I put it away for a 2-day period. On average, not 2 days, didn't put it away for 2-day period, sorry, I wore it for 2 days. But then when I just took it off, put it on a watch winder for a bit, this ended up being plus 6 seconds over a 2-day period. So that's 3 seconds. That's 10 times more per day. And this watch on the right here actually costs 3 times as much as the one on the left. So you can see my point about what I'm trying to get at. Just generally speaking, quartz watches will stay more accurate for you. That's my basis for the numbers. And to back that up even more, I've got this Luminox navy seal watch here. Also done a review of this one as well on my channel. Just making a note of what time I referenced this watch so I can put it in the video for you guys. 5 minutes 31. There, Luminox. Right. This watch, again, same sort of thing. Put the crown back in at the reset, and it is just 18 seconds but ahead now. So that's even better. And this is closer to the price of this one. This one was that cost me back then $290. Bought it back in 2017, and I got this in 2017 as well. But that's a massive difference. This is closer. This costs probably now about £700, but this costs £1,000, and this is 18 seconds ahead. Is really good for half a year. So that works out to be under 1/10 of a second per day. Unless my maths is just dismal. Anyway, that's enough waffling about the actual accuracy and stuff like that. It's probably going to cause some comments, but I've given you sort of some grounds for my findings and my opinions, for justifications for my opinions. So let's actually move on to the actual running of the watches. So the drawback of running the watches is obviously the quartz battery. So a quartz watch operates on a battery that will need to be replaced. But the counter of this is that it's not very often, and it doesn't cost a lot. But then if you've got a large collection, it soon racks up the bill. I think I pay £10, but then it's £10 like every couple of years. My Luminox, this one here, I replaced the battery in 2018, and it's still going. So 6 years later, that's still going. So it just depends on the watch, really. But the automatic movements, it doesn't matter how long you've had the watch, you shouldn't need to replace the battery. So it's cheaper in that way. You haven't got to change the battery. So the longevity of these watches generally is better, provided you take care of it and and if you service it, if it's applicable for the watch. Speaking of servicing, generally battery watches are cheaper. So I had a service bill back for my Luminox, and it was like £180. But I asked for a service bill for the Bulova, and that was about £250, £300. So not much more, but it's generally more. But then what I noticed is the Luminox could be done like a bit more local to me, but the Bulova has to be sent back. So usually, that word really didn't come out at all. Usually, automatic timepieces like the one on the right, they'll have to go back to the manufacturer to be serviced and stuff like that. But that's often the case with most watches. But you'll find that this is again my next point. Most jewellery shops won't sort of open the case back in this, because most of these mechanical watches are so complicated now, especially complication watches. I've got an Accurist Grand Complication, but that's the only, that's a quartz one, but they won't touch it. But most of the automatics are like complication watches now. They're so complicated inside, so most jewellery shops won't touch them if you just need a light repair or something like that. So, in terms of reliability, so this could link into the the accuracy, I suppose. On the the rarest of occasions, I've never experienced this. I've had loads of watches in the past. The battery could damage or short circuit or something like that, and that damages the whole watch. But then usually this stuff is covered by warranty. Automatic watches, though, if you knock them, it can cause an issue with the automatic movement, and it could affect the actual operation of the watch. But then no one's going to go around manually knocking their watches on things and stuff like that unless you're a troll or something like that. And plus, it's usually on the really cheap ones. So if you've got like a more expensive one like I have here, it's going to be not much of an issue. They should have better things in place. But then also part of the reliability is the crowns. So generally, because automatic movements, there's more going on with them. You have to wind them and stuff like that. That means there's more work for the crown to do. So there's more stuff to go wrong. The quartz ones, the crown hasn't got to be made as much, or it can be made stronger for less functions. So it's more likely to withstand from damage, and things are more likely to be working after you've had that knock. So moving on to more of the audible side of things. the noise of obviously the quartz watches, you can often hear ticking. Well, I say often hear, maybe years ago you'd be able to hear the ticking movement. Like if you've got an old-fashioned clock, you can hear the ticking of it. Automatic movers, you can generally, they're more silent unless you shake them. You can obviously hear the rattle. Yeah, you can hear it a little bit on that one. Obviously quartz watches don't rattle unless it's broken. Generally, the only sort of noise you'll hear is that ticking if you bring it close to your ear. Nowadays, most of them are silent, and same automatics, they're silent as well. You might hear like a quick ticking. That's the automatic sound in the back. But yeah, generally it's automatics that are a bit more silent. That's on average. And then lastly, going to move on to the sort of the weight and stuff like that. So generally quartz watches, they weigh less because obviously less components inside, and also the casing is less thick, so there's less stainless steel going on. The automatics obviously they'll probably be heavier because of the obviously the bolts, the movements as well. They're much bigger and they just hold more weight 'cause there's more stuff to them. So my overall verdict, really, you can probably guess where I'm going with this, is my favourite watches are the quartz ones, because I like having the most accurate time. Like if you're talking 18 seconds over 6 months, I'll take that. That's fine. I'm also not bothered by the ticking effect. That's probably going to be up to personal taste. A lot of it is. A lot of the choice over the two is often up to personal taste. And yeah, back to before, I can chuck all of these in a box without a watch winder and they'll still be going. As automatics, I've got to think, oh, I need a watch winder for this. And I've done a few videos about watch winder. I've got one for my Rolex and maybe this. But yeah, that's a consideration you'll have to take in mind if you've got more than, say, 3 or max that you're not wearing day to day. So there we go, guys. That's a comparison of the quartz and automatic movements. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next video.